And making up for last time, I think there was a little fatal part there. Well, if you were not awake before, you certainly are now. So welcome. We are here at the Rotary Club Flint meeting. It is Friday, August the 19th. So today is momentous for several reasons. Not only is it World Orangutan Day and National Hot and Spicy Food Day, it's also World Humanitarian Day, which is appropriate because Rotary International does so much to promote international humanitarian relief around the world. And through efforts like Shelter Box, which our club is part of, that we contribute $1,000 a year to help make sure that people have access to emergency shelter in areas that have experienced disaster. And we also contribute to many other programs through our individual giving as Rotarians and our gifts to Rotary International. And we also, from time to time, have made some really special efforts and want to call out in particular the humanitarian relief efforts related to Ukraine. Today also is momentous because we are welcoming home again our very own Mike Chafee, who is our district governor. So we'll be hearing. Yeah. Enjoy it now. Be good, be brief, be good, be gone. That's music. So I should take that as a lesson myself sometime. No, but we will be welcoming Mike Chafee to give his official club visit presentation. And also fittingly, this past Tuesday, I don't know if any of you marked this holiday, but this past Tuesday was National Tell a Joke Day. And so in observance of that, we are going to be kicking off our first ever Rotary joke duel. And so you've got some special red cups on the table for that purpose. If you didn't carry cash, or if you're online and you still want to participate, you can do that through the PayPal function on the website. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But for the next time being, let's just proceed with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and one nation
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a little clicker part, and apparently it's not. Oh, you got to turn it on, ladies and gentlemen. It makes a difference. All right, four-way test of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
And I'd like to welcome Jeremy Peters, who's going to lead us for an inspirational message today.
Well, I'll take a moment today to tell you about a woman named Nellie Logan. Nellie Logan was a public school teacher in Baltimore, Maryland. She also spent her weekend serving as a Sunday school teacher. One day, a new family came to the church. They had a son named Stanley. She ended up being his teacher, and they developed a special sort of a relationship. She was a mentor and a guiding figure in his life. When he got older and went away to college, he started writing Miss Nellie letters. He wrote hundreds and hundreds of letters back, keeping her in the loop on his life and the decisions he was making. When he finished his education, in part because of the influence that she had over him, this young man by the name of E. Stanley Jones decided to become a missionary. And so he traveled to India. In India, he was distinguished from other missionaries by his sensitivity to Indian culture and his openness to the Indian people. He became friends, very close with many of the leaders of the Indian independence movement, including Gandhi. Gandhi and E. Stanley Jones became great friends, and they spent hours talking about politics and religion and justice. When his friend Gandhi was assassinated, E. Stanley Jones decided to honor him by writing a biography of Gandhi. And so he wrote the story of Gandhi's life and the Indian struggle for independence. Somehow a copy of that book ended up in the hands back in the United States of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As Dr. King was reading that book, he took out a pen and wrote in the margins of his copy of the book, he wrote, "This is it. Years later, he would say that at that moment in his life, he was looking for any and all ways forward for the struggle, the movement for civil rights in the United States. At that time, he said he was skeptical of the idea that love was powerful enough to change the world, that nonviolence could truly make a difference. He said it was Gandhi who convinced him that love was powerful enough to change a society and the course of a nation. And so E. Stanley Jones, by way of Gandhi, changed the heart of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which changed the course of the American Civil Rights Movement, which changed the course of American history. And none of it would have happened the way that it did if there hadn't been a public school teacher in Baltimore who was so caring about her children that she decided to invest not only her weekdays, but also her weekends in their lives. And now you know the story of the Miss Nellie. I'll let you decide what the lesson is.
Well, thank you very much for that, Jeremy. And it's certainly, at least for me, a reminder that we're all part of a tapestry that's a lot more connected in a lot more ways than we appreciate. So we're all part of that thread. So thank you for that. And please, Rotarians, enjoy your lunch. Folks on Zoom, we will let you head to the breakout room and we'll return shortly. That was a much more delicate ring this time. So if you average them together, it's perfect. Well, welcome back from lunch. Hope everybody had a chance to enjoy a bite to eat and some conversation. We are going to be doing a few things today that are a little special for us. And so one thing that we get to do is we are at long last going to be able to officially introduce one of our new members. This was something that was planned a few weeks ago, and then with various, COVID is prevalent and around, and some of us caught it. We had to reschedule for today. So, but I'm glad that everybody's here and healthy and ready, and so we'll be introducing a new member. And to do that, I would like to now invite up Dominique Clemens and Ashley Prue. Yeah, if you just mind before that. Oh, all right. So fellow Rotarians, it's my pleasure and privilege today to welcome into membership to our club, Ashley Prue, whose name was proposed by Dominique Clemens. This proposal has been reviewed in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws of our club. I now ask Dominique to, if you'd like to say a couple words, just kind of letting us know about Ashley and why you decided to sponsor her.
Good afternoon. For those of you that don't know Ashley, she has been involved with our community for quite a bit of time. She's from the Fenton area and is actually a relocating Rotarian. She was formerly a member of the Howell Rotary Club, where she had a law firm and her practice was out there. And relocating to Genesee County, getting more connected here. But not only being an active member of the community, but being a prominent attorney here in Genesee County. She not only had her own firm, but now is in the process of transferring out of that firm, where she is going to be assuming a position as the Senior Assistant Corporation Counsel for Genesee County, serving as the attorney for our Board of Commissioners. So we're really excited to have her and really impressed in all of her accomplishments in the community and in the law world, as well as politically.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're the first group I had that announced to, so.
For those on Zoom, Ashley shared that we're the first group that heard the announcement about her new role, so you're in the know. Ashley, we now proceed to admit you into the membership of the Rotary Club of Flint, and so to the fellowship of Rotary around the world. It has already been explained to you that the ideal of Rotary is service. Our principal motto is service above self. And the object of this club and all Rotary clubs is to encourage and foster this ideal as a basis of worthy enterprise. you are now to share in this effort. You've been approved for membership in this club because we believe you to be a worthy representative of your vocation, interested in the ideals of Rotary, and willing to do your share in translating these ideals into tangible reality. You've agreed to accept these obligations attached to your membership in the club and to obey the club's constitution and bylaws. And now I've got the pleasure of asking your proposers, Dominique, to pin on the Rotary emblem, which we hope that you will wear as a symbol of pride and your involvement in Rotary. Well done with the pinning. He didn't hear her once, and so very skillfully done. We also have just a couple of tokens of welcome. We have a Rotary mug and then also your official.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say there?
I'm just very excited to officially be a member. I've been coming for several months now. And if I haven't met you already, I'm looking forward to meeting each and every one of you.
Fabulous. We're so glad to have you, Ashley. So if you haven't yet had the chance to sit down and have lunch with Ashley, I would just, always encourage you when you see a newer Rotarian face, that's a great opportunity to get to know them, to kind of building on Jeremy's story earlier, find out ways that we might be meaningful to each other's lives. You never know what can come out of those sorts of things. So welcome again, Ashley. Just want to share a couple of announcements. One is that we have had actually, I think, a pretty good turnout from the club so far of folks signing up for the Crim Rotary Mile. But if you haven't yet had the chance to do that, you can still register through the district website. There's also a Facebook post that has that little QR code thing if you're like doing things that kind of techie way. It's going to be a week from tomorrow, so it is coming up fast. And District Governor Mike will be once again hosting Rotarians beforehand. I had a chance to do it last year. It really is a lot of fun. So if you are available and haven't yet signed up, please consider doing that. And then just wanted to also share just a couple of photos from the Flint River kayaking trip. This was one of those kind of social events that was organized by the Greater Flint Sunrise Club. And we had a couple of Rotarians from our group, Ellen Brothers and Amy Krug, get to participate in that. So I've mentioned before, and I know that the administration committee shared it, kind of their yearly overview that they're hoping to do more fun things like that. So if you do have ideas for different activities that sound like a good way to get some Rotarians together, either with our club or in partnership with other clubs, then I hope that you'll feel free to offer those ideas. We definitely want to do more of those sorts of things, even outside of our usual weekly meeting. Let's see, are there any other announcements? No announcements? How about health and welfare updates? Looks like everybody must be doing well. A good thing. All right, any guests to be welcomed? I didn't see any on Zoom, but if I'm mistaken, please feel free to unmute. And let's see, I'm not seeing guests in the room today, but feel free to bring a guest next time. All right, now it's the time for the 50-50 raffle. And we have today, not
We're
Fred
100% legit
we
today.
have Rob Bennett, so you can trust in Rob.
As I gave Rock Jewel my ticket, and I said, hey. You won. Oh, thanks. Which plate?
All of them.
84827. David Smith. Check out David. First time we've probably ever seen him not wearing a suit. I high five. Glad to see I'm rubbing off on people. Wanted to make sure I gave him the right envelope. 84823.
Oh, there you go.
That's great.
Cheering.
Ron, you're not even close.
Killing me, man. This is the one that matters anyway. This is for all the $2 bills back page. 84793.
Oh.
Jan Craney won the jackpot in first place. Congratulations.
Rob, you were 2 away.
Well, that's a double win for Dan. He gets the $2 bill. All right. So this is the moment that you've all been waiting for. Our first ever joke duel. So I want to say thank you for everybody who's agreed to participate. We have our first 2 folks today. And for anybody who was maybe holding back on volunteering because you wanted to see how it goes, just stay tuned. I think you'll find it hopefully quite a lot of fun. So for this joke duel, you'll notice that there are red cups on the table that have sticky notes on them. One says Dave and one says Lynn. So you're going to have a chance to hear each person's joke. And then at the end, if you have a favorite joke, you can choose to put some money in that red cup of the person whose joke you favored. If you don't have cash or you're participating online, you can go to our website, FlintRotaryClub.org, and then you can click on that PayPal button on the right and you can choose to contribute funding that way. Just be sure to put the name of the winning jokester in that little memo line. And so after the meeting, we'll tally up all of the contributions and then we'll announce kind of the rankings for the jokes next week. So that's how this first one is going to go. I don't know if our jokesters have a preference of who goes first.
I was worried about following Dave.
Well, then Lynn gets to be our first ever jokester. So come on up, Lynn.
President Elizabeth, can we put in as much as we want?
You can, there is no, it is simply the cumulative total for the joke. There's not a, so if you really love a joke and you want to give one, you can certainly do that. All right, thanks, Lynn.
You could buy your win.
I warned President Elizabeth that my favorite jokes are shaggy dog stories. So this is not be brief and be gone. I will warn you. So a duck walks into a bar with a newspaper under its wing, climbs up on the bar stool, says to the barkeep, "I'd like a BLT on whole wheat toast and a beer, please." And the bartender looks at him and says, "But you're a duck." And the duck says, "Yeah, I see your eyes are in good condition. You can see well. I'm a duck." And the barkeep says, "But you can talk." He said, "Your ears are working well too. You can hear me." And the bartender says, "And you read?" And he says, "Yeah, you're pretty observant. I read too. Now, could I please have a BLT on whole wheat toast and a beer?" So the bartender gives him his lunch and the duck proceeds to read the paper, and the bartender says to him, "You know, I've not seen you around these parts before. What brings you to town?" And the duck says, "Well, I'm a plasterer and I've been working on a construction crew on that building that's being renovated down the street. So every day for the next 2 or 3 weeks, the duck comes to the bar, climbs on the bar stool, gets his newspaper out, orders his BLT on whole wheat toast and a beer. And one day, a circus comes to town. And the ringmaster comes into the bar. And the barkeep says, "You just won't believe this. I got the best act for you. You're just going to clean up and make a fortune. There's this duck that comes in and it talks and it reads the newspaper." And he says, "You really got to meet this duck." So the ringmaster gives the barkeep his card and says, "Have him get in touch with me." So the next day, the duck comes in for lunch. He orders his BLT on whole wheat toast and his beer. And the bartender says, "Have I got an opportunity for you? This will be a great job for you." And the duck says, "Well, that's wonderful. I'm always looking for my next job." So the bartender tells him, "The circus is in town." And the duck looks at him, he says, "The circus? Yeah. You mean the kind that has elephants and lions and stuff?" The bartender says, "Yeah." And the duck says, "They have people who fly from trapezes?" "Yeah." "And they put up this big tent?" "Yep." with a big hole in the center. Yep. It's got these canvas sides and stuff. Yep. Just what do they need with the plaster?
So tonight I'm doing everybody like stuff for Dave Smith because he has to follow that.
I give up.
All right, so you just had a pretty high standard, but let's see if we can match that.
Then I go up, I guess I will. Holy cow.
I'm not gonna tell a joke because that's too hard to follow. I have a true story that I will share with you though, and some of you probably know about this already, but so it wasn't that long ago. I think you may have read about it, that the Pope flew into Bishop Airport. You probably saw that in the news anyway. And so when the Pope arrived at the Bishop, they had a stretch limousine there, of course, to greet him. And he came out and he said to the driver, he said, I've always wanted to drive a big car like this. Is there any chance that I could drive it? And he said, well, usually against policy, but you're the Pope. What the heck? You can give it a drive. So the driver gets in the back and Pope gets in the front seat. And he takes off down Bristol Road like a bat out of hell. I mean, he's just driving 100 miles an hour. And a cop pulls him over, right? And he's got the lights going, whatever. And he walks up and has him roll down the window. And he goes, oh my gosh, it's the Pope. No, so he's a little flustered. He goes back to his squad car and he calls his supervisor. Says, hey, chief, I pulled this guy over for speeding, but he's a pretty important VIP. I'm not sure what to do. And the chief says, well, is it Mayor Neely? No, it's much more important than that. Well, is it Governor Whitmer? No, it's somebody much more important than that. And he said, well, is it Mike Chafee? And he said, no, it's much more important than that. He said, I think it might be God because his driver is the Pope.
All right, folks, I don't know how you're gonna decide between that, but that is now your imperative. But thank you so much to David Smith and Lynn Horan for getting us going with that. That's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what comes next. So now that you know what this is, if you want to sign up and you haven't yet, just see me after the meeting or send me an email or something, and we'll get you squared away. So now we get to transition to the main portion of our day here and acknowledge, first of all, that we're a very unique Rotary district compared to any of the other, well, I won't say any of the other, but most other Rotary districts only cover one country. And so we have a very unique opportunity as District 6330 that we are actually a binational district. And so it's customary when the district governor visits that we offer a toast. And because we are welcoming a governor that represents both the United States and Canada, our toast is going to cover both countries. So with that, I would like to propose a toast that honors the ideals of Rotary, our common purpose together, and the differences that we can make as individuals, but more importantly, the differences that we can make when we work together. So whether we're working together, serving on a club committee here, or volunteering in a project like the CRIM next week, or the ways that we come together to try to address the Ukrainian crisis. There's all sorts of ways that we as Rotarians come together. And Rotary International and its members and the various clubs offers us an avenue for service that we couldn't otherwise accomplish alone. And so with that, I would like to offer a toast to the Queen in Canada.
Queen. You're here.
I'd like to offer a toast to the office of the President of the United States.
You're here.
And a toast to Rotary International.
You're here.
And with that, we're going to welcome Assistant Governor Al Tucker. And Al, I'm gonna invite you, if you'd like to come off mute and help to introduce our featured speaker for today.
My pleasure. Since Mike has been a member of this club for 15 years, including a short stint as president 3 years ago, there's probably not much in his official bio that you don't already know. Also, seen as he also survived one of your roasts as past president. But what you may not know and what I've observed is his approach to being your district governor. Mike is truly taking the bull by the horns and doing the hard work necessary to make the district work for the clubs. In particular, in addition to his passion for Rotary, what I'm observing with Mike, he's putting the appropriate structure in place, bringing the district up to date, and also developing a leadership team. And this is really impressive, developing a leadership team, not only for next year, but for the years to come. It's a lot of work, but I'm confident that Mike's up to the challenge. So without any further ado, I'm glad to introduce to you a proud member of the Rotary Club of Flint and your district governor, Mike Chafee. Welcome.
Apologize to you folks on Zoom because I'm going to walk around a little bit, so you might not see me on your camera. And your clicker, here we go. Can you all hear me? Yep. All right. So, welcome. This is my first official club visit, and I thought I'd say. So I figured if I fail here, you're going to do any more. I just got in from Canada last night, and boy, am I already excited. Okay, so that's my contribution to the joke for you all. Our theme this year is Imagine the Rotary, and this is a very historic thing because Jennifer Jones is the first woman president of the Rotary. One of the things that I'm doing is recognizing so on behalf of the team of I'm doing together with Jones, so we got to come on here. Passing it along. So okay. Every year, every year, talks about the basics of everything, talks about all the things we talk about. I'm not going to be in there. We always talk about issues that I feel is very close to me. Some of them
Can anybody hear?
you want to talk about a little bit about
We can't hear you. We can't hear Mike.
okay. All right. I will not walk on. Thanks, Ray. So the mission of the district is to make the public in the grow Rotary. That's the only reason I have a job. For the last 2 years, that's been very, very difficult. Because we haven't been able to develop in person. And this club that is done. And about a third of our club has less than 20 minutes. And to me, that's good. Because a club that doesn't have enough Rotarian can't fulfill the mission. So you can see that the area that the district covers, you see this every year in the club assembly slide, mostly in Canada. And I'm getting to know the back roads of Ontario pretty good. The last district governor was Pat McAvinci from this club. Pat was a wonderful man. And it was 32 years ago when he was district governor. 32 years. So as we talk about Rotary and the things that are challenging to us, one of the things that I think most people think about is when somebody says, ask me about Rotary, what do you say? Anybody want to volunteer? Somebody ask you about Rotary. What are you going to say? Here's an example that I took off a club's website. Rotary is an organization of service, individuals around the world trying to make things better, right? That tells the story, doesn't it? But does that sell the sizzle? Here's my response when somebody asks me about Rotary. That's good. And Rotary did change my life. I came to this community in 2006 as the Scout Executive for the Tall Pine Council. And I knew that I had to join the Rotary Club of Flint because every one of my predecessors was a member of the Rotary Club of Flint. Half of my board of directors met at the service center on Fridays for lunch. I had to join. And I can remember Jerry Noodle was the president that year. He called me up and said, Mike, welcome to town. We need to have you join Rotary. I said, I know. I will join, but right now I've got kind of a, I've got a mess and give me a couple of months and I'll join. And eventually I did. It took 5 months for the club to process my application. I almost gave up. Joined and I sat at the back table, kept my head low, joined the committee that didn't do anything, and I just ate lunch when I could on Fridays. And that went on for a long time. Until one day, Joe Fioroni gave me a call. Sat at my desk, he goes, Mike, Joe Fioroni. I didn't know what he was calling about. He said, Mike, the nominating committee of the Rotary Club of Flint has nominated you to join the board. And I said, Joe, I'm flabbergasted. But this is Mike Cheney. I sat at the back table making fun of the people at the front table. I think you called the wrong guy. Look in your book, look in the book. I think you called the wrong guy. He goes, no, we called the right guy. I said, can I ask you why? And he said, Mike, you've got a skill set that this club needs. I didn't recognize that myself. I said, well, let me check with my boss. Because we're merging all the Boy Scout councils at that time, and I was way knee deep in this stuff. I said, let me talk to my wife. Both of them didn't have a problem with that, so I called Joe back and I said, if you still want me, I'll say yes. So that began my path. Somebody saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. There are people sitting at your table that you see things in. Make sure that they know that. Share that. We were all, my best friends in the world sat in this room on Fridays. That makes the difference. That makes all the difference. 1/3 of Rotarians will leave within the first 3 years because they don't feel that connection. If it wasn't for Crowdy giving me a hard time every Friday, I probably would have stayed. Rotary changed my life. And then it became my turn to be president 4 years ago. Standing up here at this podium, my first meeting, I don't know if you could see it or not, but I was scared to death. I took off my jacket when I got home and my shirt was just soaked. Not because I was nervous of standing in front of a crowd. That wasn't it. I was nervous because I didn't want to disappoint you. And that year as your president was one of the best of my life. One of the best of my life. So then after that stint, the district called. I don't know why. And Tony Sheard asked me to be the membership chair for the district. And I said, sure, you sure you got the right guy? He goes, yeah, we got the right guy. And then the process of becoming district governor is a 4-year deal. And so 4 years ago, I threw my name in, or 3 years ago, I threw my name in and said, yeah, I'd like to give this a try. I am so pleased when I go out and visit clubs to say that I'm from the Rotary Club of Flint. I'm very proud of it. This club has a lot to be proud of in this community. When I was put together the fact sheet 4 or 5 years ago about all the accomplishments of the club, I estimated at that time that the financial impact of the Rotary Club of Flint was in excess of $1 million in projects here and around the world. Now, if you factor in inflation, that's probably $2 or $3 million worth of effort. Lots of great things around town. But here's our problem. This is the first one we're going to talk about, and that's membership. This is the district totals over the last 5 years, 6 years, including today. The only time we had a membership increase was in 2018, 2019. I don't know if you remember the district governor then, it was Jim Schlackman, stood in this room, and his coined phrase was, "Get your ass in gear." Some people took offense to that. But what he did was trying to plant that seed that all of us have that obligation to go out and seek like-minded people that should be here on Friday afternoons. That year, this club brought in 19 new members. We've done it before. We can do it again. Because right now, as I was at the Rotary Club of Stratford yesterday, the largest club in the district, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, where we used to be, I said, hang on to that title for now, because it's not going to be yours for very long. We all know this. Our clubs are getting older. The attraction of younger individuals has to be paramount to our survival and growth. So, this club, 68% of this club's membership is over the age of 60. We got to turn that. That has to be turned around and addressed. Okay, that's all we're going to talk about, that kind of stuff. So, your board of directors has addressed it. All of those issues, membership, all of that stuff, and put together a new strategic plan. If you haven't read it, please do so. It's going to be in a prominent spot on the website here not too long. But it includes three pillars or 3 action items: diversity, equity, and inclusion, service and stewardship, and engagement. The reason that 1/3 of Rotarians leave in the first 3 years is because they don't become engaged. We don't have a relationship with those individuals, that this becomes a way of life, not just a club or a place you go to lunch on Fridays. It becomes part of their culture. So as we bring in new people, make sure that you grab onto them. I always tell the story when I go around and say, every club needs an ambassador. And the Rotary Club of Flint ambassador is Don Levin. Because when he sees somebody that he doesn't know in the room, he makes a beeline over there, and he's now made a new best friend. We all need to be like that, I think. We all learned how to solve this membership issue when we were in kindergarten. If you want to make friends, be friendly. We need to go out and make some new friends, I think. Okay, so read that effort that the board has put in, and let's work on that journey together. The achievements of an organization are the results of the combined effort of each individual. Vince Lombardi. Now he's talking about football. I'm talking about Rotary. All of our individual efforts will make the difference in taking this club from where we are today to wherever you want it to be going forward. If you've seen my Facebook page, my Gmail picture, that's what shows. The last meeting as your president, holding that recognition. I was so proud of that year, and so proud of each and every one of you since. So, my priorities for the year: stop this membership slide. Not only here, but collectively, Rotary North America is just losing 5% a year. That has to be addressed. 2, develop strong club and district leadership. Thanks, Al, for that plug. There are so many things at the district level that most Rotarians don't know what goes on. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the curtain. You know, that's kind of the district is behind the curtain. We're trying to be much more transparent and much more visible as we move out of the pandemic, because it wasn't the same. It wasn't business as usual for the last couple of years. And we're trying to develop a strong leadership team to help support clubs, to help go in and give their boards and their individual members opportunities to think anew. Continue our foundation giving. This club has been very generous. $863,000 has been given by this club and its members to the Rotary Foundation since its institution. Nearly $1 million. District-wide, our foundation giving continues to go up about 15% a year. And this last year, there was a huge uptick because of Ukrainian relief efforts. Nearly $40,000 from this district went to help Ukraine. Our contributions for Polio Plus continue to grow. And then the last is increase our viability and relevance in the communities we serve. Rotary is kind of like the light under the bushel basket, I believe. We do lots of great things, and for years and years, we've kind of kept it to ourselves. Stood in the background, did good things, didn't tell anybody about it. I think we need to be a little bit more forthcoming in letting the communities know exactly our impact and what we're doing. So, but that picture is my favorite. The pride that I have in this club. So here's a little foundation giving. Just FYI, the blue is a couple of years ago, and the orange is 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and then the gray is last year. We had a big spike in endowment giving. Somebody left the Rotary Foundation $1.2 million to be split equally between mothers and child health and water and sanitation. So that those gifts don't come along very often, but that was pretty generous of a certain Canadian to do that. But the annual fund continues to grow. Polio Plus is pretty steady, and then the others are global grants and things like that. Foundation givers, pretty steady, but only 44% of Rotarians in our district give to the foundation. I would encourage, if you can't do the $100 that's on the pledge card, do 5, do 10. Everybody needs to help, because I know that Mark Schillinger is getting ready to put in a global grant for some more water projects in Haiti. How the foundation works is when you give money to the foundation, 3 years later, it comes back to us to do district and global grants. So the money you give today will come back to the district in 3 years to help with those projects. So everybody's all in. So talked about the foundation and the purpose of the foundation. Every Rotarian every year, there's all kinds of recognition things. I'm not going to go any farther because I think there's been 385 Paul Harris Fellows presented out of this club. It's $385,000. So we all know about that, and even giving locally to the community foundation for our endowment fund in the presentation of Jack Hammonds. So I will close with my favorite quote: "The best teachers are those who tell you where to look, but don't tell you where to see." I'm asking you to go look in this community and find people that you know that would make great Rotarians. Most people say, "Mike, where do we find those people?" I would add up everyone's contacts and everyone's phones. There are tens of thousands of people that could make great Rotarians. So right here, you know them, you work with them, you go to church with them, they're your neighbors. I'm looking forward to having a great journey this year, representing you throughout the district. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about how you all are feeling, but right now I'm feeling mighty proud of our really. So that's 2 minutes. I don't know if you want to take any questions or
yeah.
folks have questions for Mr. Governor Mike.
Anybody?
You brought up a really good point, saying that, when new members join, within 3 years, many of them are not members anymore. And one of the things I've talked to Elizabeth about, or we've talked about together, is that when we have, especially new members, or members that aren't attending, that we ought to have some way of getting in touch and working with these people to find out what's going on, to encourage them to come back. And that's something that we've talked about to work on. So I just thought I'd bring it up to reinforce what you brought up.
But that's a good point. And Elizabeth and I were talking about that as we were having our lunch. There's, I think, 28 people in this room, 5 or 6 on Zoom. That's 36. There's 98 members in this club. So there's a gap. And I think that all of us, as a collective group, need to start reaching out to folks and just find out if they're okay. The pandemic kind of threw us all upside down. Well, it's time to upright the cart and make sure that everyone knows that they're welcome, they're thought of, appreciated, and missed.
I'm going to add just one thing. In the business world, when you have a customer can go anywhere. But when a customer comes to you, that's the one you want to take care of for sure. And that's kind of the philosophy that I'm thinking. I'm pointing it out to just kind of put it in our mind.
Yep. But I always said, I think we'd be a lot better off as an organization if we treated everyone in this room like a donor, not a member. And in the nonprofit world, I treated my donors pretty special.
Yeah, for sure.
Ellen, you probably do the same thing, right? You treat those people very special. Donor members deserve that same type of care. Joy?
So I'm curious, you mentioned it took 5 months for you to enter the club. And I think back when I joined, it was not a whole lot different. So where are we today in that process? And how long does it take?
Well, I wouldn't ask Ashley. It's, I think it could be tightened up. It's gotten better, but I think it could be tightened up.
Yep, and I'll just give a shout out to Jeremy too, who's our newly formed membership committee chair. And so I know he and Nick Godlewski, that's something that's definitely on their radar screen, and that they are making a really concerted effort to try to make that process a lot quicker.
And I would add one of the reasons that I enjoy from the Rotary, besides the people, is we have very fine programs.
Not today, not included.
Especially since it's not always easy to know what's going on in town.
Yeah.
You can't just rely on local newspapers.
No.
So coming here, we usually hear from all the community, what's going on, and they're very enjoyable meetings.
Okay, thank you.
And for the folks on Zoom, Lynn was just giving a shout out to the program quality here at the club. That's one of the things that she really enjoys and keeps her coming back. So let's give one more big round of applause to Mike. Again, thank you. This was kind of like the district governor official visit / Rotary Love Fest, which, you know, is kind of a cool vibe to close out the meeting with. So I want to give a special thanks, of course, to Mike. And we will, of course, make a contribution towards the eradication of polio in your honor. I also want to give a special call out to Ashley. It's terrific to have you here as an official member, and look forward to getting to know you better and having a lot more opportunities down the road to connect. Thank you to our inaugural jokesters, Lynn and David. That was phenomenal. It went better than I could have imagined. So, so thank you very much for being willing to give it a shot and to put yourselves out there that way. I look forward to seeing what the totals end up being. And I also want to give, of course, a thank you to everybody who had a hand in helping prepare for today's meeting, for Terry being his ever-present self out there at the registration table, Jerry filling in for the 50-50, and Jeremy's inspirational message today, and George helping to do the setup and takedown. Dave Perry's doing our bulletin notes, and special thank you to the folks that kind of pitched in to get the extra red cups out there. So thank you, Brian, for pitching in with that as well. So next week, I hope you'll come back. I hope you'll consider bringing a potential Rotarian with you, because it's going to be a really special meeting when we talk about the impact of our club's work on the community. We're going to be hearing from Denise Diller and Tiffany Summers. They both are with Crossover Outreach. And if you don't know or don't recall, Crossover is one of those organizations that the Rotary Club of Flint recently made a pretty substantial grant to. And so, you know, our committee with Elizabeth Cummins, the new projects committee, that was one of the projects that they recommended supporting this past year. So you'll have a chance to see kind of the so what, you know, what do your dollars help to support? And so we'll have a chance to hear from them. So thank you very much for being here today. I hope you go out and enjoy your weekend. Be health conscious. I see that Genesee County now is back in the red for COVID. So that means recommendation is to wear your mask when you're indoors. So we keep adapting, we keep moving forward. Have fun with Back to the Bricks, and we'll be adjourned until next week. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody on Zoom.